Hi, I'm Andrew from Gym and Athlete Training. So I'm going to go through with you how to sit and stand. So sit and standing has a great correlation with the way we train. So if you notice, you look at a lot of high profile weightlifters, so Olympic lifters, they have fairly good posture. So if you look at them in the warm-up area and they go and sit down, they're very upright, shoulders back and everything's nice and tight, even when they're not lifting. So we spend the majority of our time either sitting or standing. We only spend 1 to 2 hours a day for most of us in the gym. So that's if we're sleeping 8 hours a day, that's another 14 and a half hours that we have of practicing things during the day while we're working. That's outside of training. That's still going to help us with our training, and it's also going to prevent injury. So the first thing that a lot of people do when they are sitting down is that they round their shoulders forward. So the shoulder is a ball and socket joint. The humerus goes into the shoulder socket like that. When this shoulder is firmly pulled back and down, this socket is nice and stable and tight. As soon as the shoulder rounds forward, or we start to round forward like that, this actually stretches out and gets pulled out of the socket, which is where we get a lot of shoulder injuries from, because there's a lot of strain on the ligaments in our shoulder, which then goes on to cause injury. And then add that to putting that under load, so deadlifting, cleaning, snatching, lifting anything from the floor, any type of weightlifting at work. You have to pick things up all the time. That's going to put a lot of strain on muscles that aren't supposed to take it because that shoulder's not sitting back. The other thing is when the shoulder sits back in the socket, it allows us to engage our back and use our scapula to hold our shoulders back, which is what we want to do when we're lifting. So if we can practice that during the day, then when we go to training, it'll be that much easier because we're getting 14 and a half hours of practice plus 1 or 2 hours of training of having our shoulders in the right position rather than just 1 or 2 hours a day practice just while we're lifting and then forgetting about it for the rest of the day. So when we sit down, most people when they sit down will sit down like this with their shoulders forward or have their hands in their lap, or people that are on computers or at desks will have their hands up like this and their shoulders will be rounded forward. So their back's fairly straight, and you can see them tight on the shoulders forward. What we want to do is actually pull our shoulders back and then down, which allows us to put our shoulders in a better position. So this also takes the load off our traps here, which run up into our neck. So a lot of people that have tension headaches from having tight traps often have office jobs or a shoulder position that pulls them forward. So this is common in a lot of people with desk jobs, and also tradesmen as well, because they tend to lift a lot of things with their back, so they go to pick it up, like pick their toolbox up like that, rather than actually bending with their legs and keeping a straight back. The other thing, before we sit down, what you want to do is actually set your pelvis. So you find when you sit down, if you're not sitting up straight, the muscles supporting your pelvis will turn off. So instead of your pelvis being straight like this, it will actually rotate forward, so you've got a slight anterior pelvic tilt. So that's what a lot of people that work in offices actually have, an anterior pelvic tilt, which means their abdominal muscles aren't working as they should, and the pelvis tilts forward. And as that tilts forward, puts a lot more pressure on our back. So that's the reason we get rounding in the upper back, so thoracic kyphosis, is because this pelvis tilts forward, and for our body to compensate, we go like that, and then we round forward to compensate so we can keep our balance, which is typical of a lot of office job people. So there's one way that we can help to fix that before lifting or before sitting down, which is actually squeezing our bum. So if you squeeze your bum and hold it for about 3 to 5 seconds before you sit down, it actually tilts your pelvis from being slightly forward back into the correct position. Once you squeeze for 3 to 5 seconds, you can let go and then sit down, but it will turn off again as you sit down for long periods of time and start to rotate forward. So every time you go to lift something up, whether that be in the gym or in life, or if you go to sit down, make sure you squeeze your bum cheeks first, make sure your pelvis is set, and then go to your lift, which puts your pelvis in a good position, which then means that your lower back is also going to be in a good position, and you're going to be in optimal position for lifting without putting yourself at risk of injury. The other thing is as well, when we're standing during the day, or at any time, you want to make sure that your shoulders are back and down as well. So this is going to help, obviously, keep your back nice and straight and pull your shoulders back so that the shoulders in the socket. So we don't want to be putting this shoulder under stress all day, having it forward, because then it will get stuck out here And then when we go to lift, we'll lift out in front as well, which will put a lot of strain on our arms and our shoulders. And we actually want to pull that shoulder back, and we're using our back to push the weight up and down overhead.